Hey everybody, this is Carrera.
I'm Ray.
I'm Rob. Tonight we are doing our before and after movie review for Baby Driver. So I think it goes without saying I'm really excited about this movie.
You're a huge Edger Wright fan, for one.
Absolutely.
And for two, the trailer was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how it will stack up against his Ice Cream trilogy. I mean, that's probably unfair to say. I know there's no Simon Pegg, no Nick Frost in this movie. You know, he's done that before, Scott Pilgrim, which I think was a successful foray outside of his comfort zone.
Loved it.
Yeah, and I think the genre does fit him. There was some action and hot fuzz.
This is cranking that up to 11, I think, for sure, it seems like. So it's going to be interesting to see what his take, I think, on like a true action movie is. And one of these, driving genre movies, which I think nowadays to me is kind of a played genre.
There's a lot of time that has gone on in the driving car chase genre. You know, if you go back to the 70s, whereas like the original Gone in 60 Seconds, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Vanishing Point, it's that real kind of raw, gritty, but they've kind of evolved into Fast and the Furious. That I am really just not on board with at all.
Totally do not expect Edger Wright to just do that.
No.
He wouldn't do that. This does have a strong cast. Interesting plots are pretty easy for Edger Wright to get a handle on. Kind of really excited to see this.
He's a great writer. He's a great director. He brings a really strong visual style. I think we're going to see that in this movie, and I'm really pumped. So why are we still
see it?
Yeah, let's go see it, man. We'll be right back. That driving movie really drove home the fact that Fast and the Furious movies fucking suck.
Sorry to say it, but it's true. It's like, why can't we get this on a regular basis?
There was so much heart in this movie. I mean, the visual style just blew my mind. I mean, Edger Wright is such a visual director. We've seen it all the way through his movies, and he brought something fresh to this genre and really sold me on a genre that we said before neither one of us were very into.
I mean, this could be like one of my favorite movies of the year. Crossing all genres, like, he just did such a good job, and we saw it, I thought, in the opening title sequence. Like, when people watch it, like, don't take for granted, like, how beautifully well done the opening credits.
Yeah, that single tracking shot, it follows them all the way around, all the way to the coffee shop, and it really it introduces you so well to the baby character. He's not even saying any words, but he's so charismatic in his movements and his dancing, and he's really into the music, which is such a part of his character, as you find out through the movie. I mean, it is his character in some ways. So it was a really great way to embrace that, introduce the audience to the way that the music affects him, and I think from then on, I loved the character. Like, he didn't even say a word, not one line of dialogue, and I was hooked. I was rooting for Baby from that moment.
I mean, the use of music, I know I started to hear people talk about that before we went and saw the movie. It's like a character. It's like really important to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like there in movie history there have been movies that have been made for their soundtrack. Now, they're not good movies. It's just like, let's get all of these great artists together and make this soundtrack, and the soundtrack becomes more popular than the movie. That could happen with this, but the movie does absolutely stand on its own. It's going to probably do really well on iTunes and all of that. I know I want to listen to it from now until the end of the year, probably.
I like the music. Like, I wouldn't probably buy it on iTunes. It's probably just not my natural taste, but the use of it in this movie, I loved.
Yeah.
And I love how Edger Wright, he made you, when you're watching this movie in the audience, you were Baby. If anytime he was listening to music, you were always hearing what he was hearing. There was music playing 95% of the time, because that's what Baby's going through 95% of the time, but when he takes his earbuds out, it'll chill out for you, and when it goes back in, the music starts playing. And I just really love that, kind of like just submerses you in the character. Yeah, because you're like, you feel like you're in his shoes right in those moments. And I feel like it was great.
It's a great way to connect the audience to the main character, and like you said, it kind of really conveys a lot of emotion. Music is such an effective tool in filmmaking for conveying those emotions, letting the audience in on what's going on beyond just the words. Edger Wright was masterful in his selections, and it really just sold every moment of this movie.
Agreed.
And beyond just that opening credit sequence, the action scenes, the driving scenes from beginning to end, really just mind-blowingly good.
That was something we were worried about too, because I was like, you kind of feel like some ways once you've seen an action scene, you've seen a lot of them, a lot more realism to them. I thought like the routes that they took were really like well thought out, because there's some jokes about some of the other franchises who do racing cars, how they take place on these freeways that are just like 50 miles long, or these runways that are 50 miles long. Not in this movie. In this movie, they did a whole car chase probably that took place within like 6 or 8 blocks, just because they're just left turning, they're right turning, but they're fitting inside the city. Like, it's added this level of realism, tight space that I thought was entertaining.
Yeah, it was really kinetic. It was really engaging, and the music obviously helped on this level as well. Like you said, the hyper realism. So it's not like these movies that, I mean, I use Fast and the Furious, one, because I don't like the franchise at all, but two, like, I feel like they really are a purveyor of the cliche car chase scenes now, where it's like, you know, cars crashing into buildings and, you know, jumping over each other and doing all of this stuff. And, you know, Baby Driver was able to make really amazing sequences without doing any of that really cartoonish, outlandish type action. For a character that barely says maybe 2 pages, 3 pages worth of dialogue total in the whole movie, Baby is such a compelling character.
I love the sign language scenes with him and his stepdad.
Yeah.
Like, they were able to convey so much. That I really appreciate Ansel Elgort's just acting in those moments, because he's conveying so much information. This kid was selling me this movie when he was doing those scenes.
There's something to be said about an actor who can sell you through facial expressions and a gesture and that type of thing. And he sold so much of that in those interactions with his foster father, stepfather. You know, they played off of each other so well. I mean, I was sold on both of those characters. Just the relationship that they had, it was so compelling.
Baby dances a lot, as much as we hear music, you know, through his kinetic body movements, which just lend itself to sign language.
Yeah.
I just thought was really brilliant. But when he had, or I should say maybe, I loved how the interactions with him and Deborah. This love story, which was kind of uniquely done, because I wouldn't say it was an overbearing part of the movie.
No.
But it was very effective and important part of the movie.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting, too, because obviously the story does really revolve around Baby. And I do think in a lot of ways the Deborah character could have ended up becoming just a prop. Because they kind of kept the drama between them to a minimum, that's even more of a pitfall that they could have fallen into. I can think of another movie right off the top of my head, Drive, where that was actually, I think, a real issue with that movie, is that Michelle Williams ended up becoming off more as a prop than an actual character. Not in this movie.
I felt like the whole pacing of the movie was really great. Edgar Wright not letting himself get bogged down by like adding false drama, or maybe fake drama, or drama that didn't fit the Deborah character.
Yeah.
It was allowed him to keep the pace of the movie really upbeat, really kinetic, and as an audience member, you felt like you just were along for the ride the whole time.
And just from an intelligence angle, the scene where, you know, Baby's with the gang, they walk into the diner, and she can tell right away that something's wrong. You know, it's not like one of those things where, why are you ignoring me and your friends? Like, she can tell these are bad people, that there's something wrong. Baby's facial expressions are, you know, his eyes are down, there's a problem. And she walks up and acts cool, tries to act as normal as she can, you know, even tries to like slip him that note or the sheet of paper at that one point to like get him to write something down or whatever. I mean, it was really smart, as opposed to just, like you said, that kind of cliche drama that they could have tried to inject into that scene.
You know who else was really good in this movie? A character that I didn't know if I was going to get attached to until the very end of the movie, which was awesome, was our President Frank Underwood.
Kevin Spacey was super awesome in this movie. You're right. I was kind of wondering if he'd end up being kind of that cliche mastermind type character. You know, he seemed very ominous in the trailer, and did for most of the movie, too. He was well-connected, a lot of threats. He seemed like he was always in charge, even when dealing with all of these kind of crazy criminal type people. But there was a lot of heart with him towards the end that I wasn't necessarily expecting.
You kind of think the whole movie he's just this, you know, leader head figure and there's nothing to it. But then when he has his little turn, makes you go back to think, you know, he always was kind of on Baby's side. He always, but you appreciate the character much more.
Absolutely.
Which effective storytelling.
Agreed.
I thought the whole gang aspect was good. We were kind of wondering like how that would play into the story originally. Jamie Foxx plays a heck of a jerk.
He was another guy that from the trailers I was like, I don't know how I'm necessarily going to feel about his character. And yeah, I will admit, like, there came a point in the movie when I was like, man, I'm just really sick and tired of Jamie Foxx's character. You know, spoiler alert.
They killed him right there.
Yeah, so it was kind of at that moment where it's like, oh, okay.
Well, you know, we kind of talked about how this movie was able to avoid pitfalls. Jamie Foxx, I think, was a big pitfall that they masterfully avoided, making him maybe like the big bad or the final chase or the, you know, the showdown at the end. His character was just being so played, like, on purpose.
Yeah.
They knew the expiration date was going to be early, so crank it up.
Yeah.
So I thought killing him off earlier than you expected was brilliant, and really effective for just that whole character.
And then switching the focus to Jon Hamm, who I thought was really great in this movie in a lot of subtle ways. Like there was moments when he was really connecting with Baby and the music, you know, talking about Brighton Rock and like stuff like that. I thought that was great. I thought his relationship with Darling was really awesome, and it was this hypersexual type relationship, kind of really revolving around danger and drugs and all of that. So it's not like it was a healthy kind of relationship, but you understood the motives. But between them,
I loved when Jamie Foxx pointed it out, and like brought it to the forefront, and then you see just Jon Hamm's, you know, responding to it. Spoiler alert: Jon Hamm ends up being the big bad of the end. I was along for his emotional ride. Like I totally bought in to him going from the baby friend character to the big bad because of the motives that happened.
There's a lot of depths to this movie, you know, that a lot of people may not completely realize upon first viewing. The similarities between Baby and Jon Hamm are one of them, especially in their relationships. So, you know, Baby's really getting involved with Deborah very quickly, falling for her, that strong, visceral attraction that he has for her.
He knows what he likes.
Yeah, exactly, he does. Jon Hamm is the exact same with Darling. Granted, the relationship's much longer. They're married, and you know, got to have all this history. It's almost like for Baby, it's a glimpse into his future. So, like in the end, they're on the bridge, they're driving, they're like you think they're scot free. Yeah,
Deborah's at the wheel.
Yeah, Deborah's actually at the wheel, and the cops are there, and this could be it. You know, like they're on the run. It's like this is
Bonnie
the time. Yep, they're gonna Bonnie and Clyde it. But at that moment, Baby just reaches over and is like, no. Like, you don't belong in this world, which is something his stepfather had said to him. And you don't belong in this world. He gets out of the car and lets himself get caught. And I think he had to do that at that point because he saw his future being Jon Hamm and Darling.
Yeah.
Like, that was where it was at. It was that thing where, you know, Kevin Spacey in the elevator said...
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. If you step on the gas...
You're going to be looking over your shoulder the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or something to that
you're going to have it on there for the next 25 years. He knew he didn't want that life. If he wanted a
relationship. Or for Deborah,
Yeah, either one. He didn't want that life for either one of them. And I think that is such a beautiful moment. I think a lot of times in movies, like, think of like something like a Thelma and Louise or like a Bonnie and Clyde. You know, the Blaze of Gunfire is the romantic version of this story. Edgar Wright's like, no, like, we're not going to do that. And I actually have a lot of respect for him for that.
Yeah, and he showed them that they can be together without doing that. You know, that's kind of the ending of the movie. And you're right, we were kind of mentioning that on the way home, but I just thought, like, yeah, you know, I don't know if I caught it until you said it. I was like, damn, that is good.
And those subtle things, that's what I always love about Edgar Wright. That's what I really appreciate about his movies, is there's so many levels. There's so much to his movies that I feel like so many people just kind of overlook at times because he is a funny director. Like, his movies are funny and they're interesting, but I think he doesn't necessarily always get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, you know, I think kind of interesting thought on that is, you know, the Ice Cream Trilogy. I think when you stay so self-contained that people just kind of lump these movies together and they're just like, I thought Shaun of the Dead was okay. Then you just naturally assume, well, Hot Fuzz will probably just be okay. I won't go see it. Or, you know, you end up just... I think when he steps out of his comfort zone, which I'm sure he's totally comfortable doing this, but when he steps out of his norm, he really gets to show off how talented he is. And I think he did that with this.
Fingers crossed for Ice Cream Saga.
Well, I think it's obvious we're both big fans of what we just saw here tonight. But just throw it out to the audience, some final thoughts, I guess, on the piece.
You know, as far as Baby Driver is concerned, in some ways, for me, it definitely rejuvenates the driving genre. Even if you're a fan of the Fast and the Furious, it's something a little bit more overblown in the action department. But this is big story, big heart, and I think anybody who's a fan of just movies in general can really attach themselves to this movie. The music is fantastic. Edgar Wright proves why he's such an underrated director. I can't get enough of him. So because of those things, everybody who's watching this video better go buy a ticket or I'll be really disappointed.
Yeah, Rob's absolutely right. You need to. If this movie was not on your radar, go to the movie theater, let this movie sneak up on you, because it will win you over. And just appreciate the effort, the skill, the expertise that was put into this movie, because it all shows pretty bright. It's going to be one of the funnest times you're going to have at the movies this year, for sure.
Without a doubt. All right, everybody. That's it from us, but we want to know what you think about Baby Driver. Are you ecstatic that Edgar Wright has made another movie? Are you going to be blaring this soundtrack out of your car for the next year, running red lights? We want to know about it in the comments below.
Then hit the like and subscribe button so you can catch all of our upcoming videos.
Until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
I'm Ray.
I'm Rob.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, and just a shade under a decade too. All right.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.